I called out NVIDIA earlier this morning when we saw this flow come through. This trade on the shorter time frame is definitely over with. But what we're going to talk about here, and we go is when we look at trend spider, is going to be the bigger time frame for NVIDIA. But basically, we get this flow, hits right here, massive breakout through the 15-minute open range, continuing to run, pulling back, and then we get even more buying. So what you want to see in a perfect world when we're watching flow, and we explain this and we post all of the flow within our community, but what you want to see is these continued buys. So we're seeing all these continued repeater bullish flows come in throughout the day, all the way up until about noon, where we get a couple of puts coming through and then some more calls. So this is the type of buying that you want to see, right? Continue persistent, repeated buying back to back to back. If we were to actually go through and look at the 1 minute here on NVIDIA as well, you can see that we could have been using our 2.5 ATR this entire time, right? So this is this green average trailing stop loss for the average true range. And as long as we were holding above here, you would have been fine. You probably would have closed out up here at 430 because we were holding under ATR for a little bit. You can see that we have this red, but this is what we're looking for. And this is what I predominantly base a lot of my day trades off of, either harmonic patterns within the Discord, or I'm watching real-time flow. I'm watching for the break above ATR. I'm watching for continued buying to come in behind it, and I'm just holding my position until we tag out. So looking at NVIDIA, very, very solid day trade there. Now, as far as the bigger time frames, because this is something that a lot of you guys ask about, how are we trading at this moment? I think that entering a bear position is really solid. I don't think that there's a high chance of probability, and I want you to understand that. But the profitability, the RVR is sickening. It's nearly 7-1. And so looking at NVIDIA at this point, I opened up some call credit spreads, and what we're going to do is go over the actual position here with you guys that I shared with my premium group. And so basically the position that we were looking at, like we said, was going to be NVIDIA, and I opened up call credit spreads for August 18th, 450, 450, 250, meaning NVIDIA just has to close below 450 this Friday. Doesn't matter if it rips and just closes below 450. Doesn't matter if it sits sideways. Doesn't matter if it craters. As long as it closes below 450, I'll make a profit. So at the time, stock was only up 5.5. So this has gone against me a little bit, but I'm not really down much. So I said stock's up 5.5% today. Doubt we close over 450. I said do not risk more than 10% of your total account max on a trade like this. 10% to some of you might be like, dude, that's insane. That's a lot, right? But we're trading with spreads that have a 90% chance of profit. For me, that is way less than 10%. But if you are somebody who's trading with like 5-6 grand, unfortunately, if you're trading with spreads, you might have to do max 10% of your total account. So I said if you want to follow shares, you can short, just get in now. If you want to go with puts, I'd be looking at 45 days out at the money. That would probably give you like a delta of around 50, which would be solid. Stop losses at 455.66, take profit at 375 to 300. And so you can see here, basically, we've finally broken below this 11 SMA, which is this purple line. As well, you can see that we have actually finally also broken below our ATR stop loss, where we've pushed up through this. And so now, looking at this, we want to see this 11 SMA act as a resistance. We want to see it bounce and reject here around hopefully 435, 436 tomorrow. And then we want to see it reject and start to move its way back down. If we don't, if we push up to 455 and we hold, I may lose money. It depends on how bad the theta is. If I do, then it's whatever. If not, then maybe I'll close it out for a small loss or potentially even by the end of the week, depending upon what ends up happening. But I do think that in this position, the risk versus reward ratio is solid, right? There's probably a 50% chance of this happening since we're still in a massive uptrend, but the risk versus reward is like 6.5 to 1, nearly 7 to 1. So you can lose 7 times for every one winner and you'd be fine. The biggest thing is you have to obviously risk accordingly.